continue until Friday, 24th May 2024. All briefing activities will be held at the National Press Center, Radio House, Abuja. To the Senate now. A 300% salary increase for judicial officers at the federal and state levels is to come into effect soon. This is evident as Senate engages stakeholders at a public hearing on a bill to that effect. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The salary increments coming through an executive bill from the presidency seeks to address the 17 years of stagnation of salaries and emoluments of judicial officers in Nigeria. Minister of Justice and his counterpart from the Finance Ministry said the decision of government to approve the 300% salary increase is to truly make the judiciary independent.
An attempt and an initiative to improve the lot of the judiciary to the benefit of the judiciary in particular and Nigerians in general.
Our focus on judicial reform is not only about judicial remuneration, but to the justice needs of Nigeria.
The National Assembly wants the federal government to go a step further by improving disengagement benefits for those who served in the temple of justice.
In order to insulate the structure that not only meets the basic needs of our judiciary.
Other stakeholders made suggestions on effective implementation.
The judicial officers, and it's not only salary that concerns us, though it is very important.
The salary increase for judicial officers is already captured in the 2024 appropriation bill signed into law by President Bola Tinubu. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Judicial Council is determined to empower judicial officers across the country for speedy dispensation of justice. This development is one of the low-hanging fruits of the just concluded National Summit on Justice. Dele Atumbi of our Judiciary Desk reports that the latest reports.
The National Judicial Institute is the training arm of the court dismissed for lacking in merit. Justice Nyako said that the court found as a fact that Nnamdi Kanu jumped the earlier bail granted him and escaped out of the country. The jail of the Department of State Service, DSS, to Kuje Correctional Center in Abuja. This is one of the holdings of the court in a ruling on the application of the defendant who is standing trial on alleged terrorism offenses slammed on him by the federal government and had been in custody of the Department of the State Service, DSS, following the refusal of the court to admit him to bail. Justice Heko, while delivering the latest ruling, said that the federal government had raised the issues of incessant jailbreaks in prisons as a major ground to oppose the request for transfer to Kuje. Heard that Mamu did not contradict or dispute the averment as required by law. The court held that since the averment were not challenged by Mamu, they were deemed to be true facts, and facts admitted need no further proof. The judge subsequently ordered Mamu to remain in DSS custody throughout his trial in the criminal counts against him. Justice Eko, however, affirmed his earlier order that the alleged terrorist negotiator be allowed to access his personal physician for medical treatment with the supervisions of the DSS. The DSS on March 21, 2023 arraigned Mamu on 10 counts of terrorism financing, among others, but he pleaded not guilty to the counts. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has resolved to set up a technical advisory committee that would provide a way forward on the condition and safety of aircrafts in the presidential air fleet. Chairman House Committee on National Security and Intelligence, Ahmad Satomi, stated this after a meeting between members of the committee and the commandant of the presidential air fleet, as well as representatives of the Office of the National Security Advisor.
Air fleets are doing okay for now, and then it's not issue of either to repair or to think of getting new one. But all what we know is that as a country, as Nigeria, our position in the global policy, we need something that will represent our image, because our pride will show how Nigeria it is. So therefore, we are yet to conclude or finalize, but they have explained enough. Some of the incidences are just media propaganda. It's not what we have expected or what we are thinking that it happens. Is some holders in the presidential air fleet who has something to say. At the end, will come up with a final resolution.
Resolved to investigate the state of the presidential air fleet following media reports of an alleged faulty aircraft in the fleet. And still from the Green Chamber, the National Commission for Nomadic Education has submitted a memorandum on ways to improve, strengthen and sustain nomadic education in the country as an avenue towards equipping nomads with sound and quality education. This was during an interactive engagement with the House of Representatives Committee on Alternative Education. National Assembly correspondent Isa Mohammed reports.
Nomadic education was introduced to provide nomad students with sound and quality education in every discipline for them to be integrated into the society. Statistics show that there are more than 7,000 nomadic schools and 12,000 teachers across the country, with 2,700 pupils learning and grazing at the same time. It is on this backdrop that the Nomadic Education Commission forwarded this memorandum on strengthening and sustaining nomadic education.
We have over 7,000 schools. What will be the effect? We have trained staff that can move in all those nooks and crannies to get to those destinations and then give them the desired education they want.
The idea of initiating nomadic education is to provide them or to equip them with a knowledge that will enable them to boost the particular sectors of this economy that we are all proud of it.
The committee assured the Commission of Quality merged the Nomadic Commission with relevant agencies, which many kicked against the merger. From the National Assembly, Isa Muhammad, NTA News.
And the 10th House of Representatives has been described as a people's parliament for consensus building, where the voices of all citizens are heard and valued. The Intertribal Youth Associations of Nigeria, a group of socio-cultural organizations, says this has reflected in the quality of legislations and resolutions which resonate with citizens. In a statement by its leader, Jack Sunday Itodo, the group highlighted the unwavering commitment of the Tajuddin Abbas-led House of Representatives to nationalism and nation building, stressing that the legislature today stands as a beacon of hope and inspiration to Nigerians, while acknowledging the Speaker's penchant for inclusivity and national cohesion. The group called for patriotism among Nigerians and support for the federal government in continued efforts to build a united and prosperous Nigeria for all. This is the news at 10 on NTA.
What is fake news? A false information with no verifiable source presented as true story on media platforms with the sole intention of causing injuries, chaos, and disaffection between persons, groups, or countries. Fake news facilitates extremism. Fake news creates panic within. Don't be in a rush. Verify your sources and facts. It is better late than fake. This message is brought to you by NTA NEWS24.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now, residents of the Federal Capital Territory, especially commuters, will soon heave a sigh of relief as the Abuja Metro Line is set for the commencement of commercial operations this month. This is the fallout of the last inspection of the train station by the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike. Onoze Yakubu has the report.
It is cheering news for the residents of the Federal Capital Territory, especially commuters, who will have another opportunity of enjoying the eco-friendly transport.
Uprightness, a concept described as necessary for an orderly society. But over time, reports of unethical behavior by some unscrupulous people continue to give rise to popular concept of corruption. But what is corruption?
Is an act of trying to make gains where not applicable is a sickness of a kind, a peculiar sickness that does not require medication. It requires self-emancipation. It requires imbibing in yourself individual qualities of self-awareness. You must first of all realize and convince yourself that you are responsible so that you don't do irresponsible things, because corruption in itself is an act of irresponsibility.
You find out a key example, which is bribery. It's a thing that happens every day in most of our offices in Nigeria. So how do we check that? We're bringing in technology. Are we going to look at reorientation of the individuals that work in those places? It's a whole lot of activities that needed to be done. Legislation, reorientation, and what have you.
Having identified examples of corrupt practices to include examination malpractices or falsification of public records to commit fraud, they believe that it is in the public interest for Nigerians to rebuff such acts whenever they occur. They describe recent public support for JAMB's efforts at weeding out fraudsters from its UTME examinations as an example in that regard.
The solution to corruption in our society is to ensure that we all support the fight against corruption and support the anti-graft agencies in their effort in combating corruption. We should also not celebrate those that have been alleged to have enriched themselves illegally until they are able to prove their innocence in court.
Presently, the anti-graft agencies like the EFCC and the ICPC, among others, are commended for doing a commendable job of curbing corruption in the public and private life. But analysts say the message of a corrupt-free society needs to permeate the psyche of the people for it to have a lasting effect. In Abuja, Minna Daniels, NTA News.
The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, says Nigeria's Passport Data Center will be ready for operation before May 29th. Tunji-Ojo gave the hint when he received the National Union of Nigerian Associations in Italy. The union was at the minister's office to solicit support for Nigerians in Italy, many of whom are having difficulties returning home due to the expiry of their travel documents.
With your good office, grant us passport front offices in Italy to continue to help and alleviate the pains and sufferings of our brothers and sisters there.
The Federal Capital Territory Administration has taken federal government's reform initiatives captured in the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025 very seriously, and this platform of book exhibition is to help authors of books contextualize Nigeria's diverse sectors with this masterpiece of literary works. With the team enhancing intellectual capacity for effective service delivery, the message of the Minister of State for the FCT, Dr. Maria Mahmood, and development experts emphasize that investment in intellectual development of FCT staff is not negotiable.
So I'm truly impressed that civil servants are able to produce these books, and I hope this program will open the eyes of other civil servants to see that it is something that is doable.
If you want efficient and effective service delivery, you need to also make sure that the people that are going to service the community are well skilled.
The context of the Federal Capital Territory, where the demand for efficient and...
Henry Ikechukwu authors Fire and Life Safety Guide, while Acting Director, Department of Reforms Coordination and service improvement. Dr. Jume Amojo is there, explaining how it works, the revolution and development of the Federal Capital City, and the rise from ashes, a compelling tale of women journeying through widowhood.
I feel happy to be able to contribute my own quota toward enlightening people about safety.
And we send out the call circular. We have over 35 of them that came out to exhibit what they have written. So going from here, we want them to know that they have the support of the FCTA, which is why the Minister of State approved for this to happen. So some publishers are here with the hope that they will engage with these writers and see that their books are published, both physically and online, so that they'll be able to get the real value for what their intellectual capacity has been able to.
Civil servants, with authors and guests craving for sustainability plans of the program. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
Still the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We'll take another break now. We'll return shortly.
You know the geography of Nigeria. But we're not a nation. A nation is a group of people with a shared vision.
In many states of the Federation, with a few exceptions, we have only 2 tiers of government. The local government is completely gone.
Insightful, thought-provoking, and engaging.
Those countries that we go to buy refined petroleum products, or technically what we call distillates, are we saying their economic and political leaders are fools?
What you see that is happening in the urban area is not happening in the rural area. There's no balance, there's no holistic or concerted approach to development.
Every development is local. Every underdevelopment is also local. I think what we need is to promote national development.
Good Morning Nigeria, the Nigerian Television Authority's flagship program, brings you all you need to know on current national issues that affect you.
Correspondent Najat Tijani reports on what to expect during the
will showcase their products and services.
The Chief of the Naval Staff, in a message delivered by the Chief of Policy and Plan, says this Navy Week celebration, as with others in the past, will serve as a scorecard of the Nigerian Navy's performance in Nigeria's service. Established in 1956, the Nigerian Navy, which started its operations with a handful of coastal boats, has widened its horizon into a force to be reckoned with in sub-Saharan Africa and the Gulf of Guinea. The Nigerian Navy boasts among its fleet 75 warships and is reckoned to be the 5th strongest in Africa. The Nigerian Navy is also considered well-trained and has participated in several peacekeeping missions. Najatu Tijani, NTA News.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan has described the Rumo-Lumeni Trans-Calabari Road project in Rivers State as one that will enhance economic development of the state and the Niger Delta region at large when completed. Osinachi Samuel reports that he said this while flagging off the project initiated by Governor Siminalayi Fubara to mark his 1 year in office.
Rumo-Lumeni Trans-Calabari Road was conceived by the first military governor of Rivers State, Papa Priye Daites Spieth, while successive administrations attempted to redesign the road. The situation has over the years made transportation difficult for members of the affected communities within the area. For construction of the road, with a total sum of 225.1 billion naira, with 30% of the total value already paid.
We are proud that the governor is trying to link these 3 local governments for a greater development.
If I was born, I know my fathers, my ancestors will be praying for this road.
Governor Fubara, who is delighted to execute the project, urges members of the benefiting communities to rally around the contractor.
We will appeal to, first, the Rumo-Lumeni people to give the contractor the necessary support so that this project will be delivered.
Former President of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, says he understands the financial implications of undertaking such a huge project. He commends Governor Fubara for taking the bull by the horn while strongly appealing for reconciliation and peace in the state.
River State is the heart of the Niger Delta. If River State is destabilized, the whole Niger Delta will be destabilized. And it will not end within the Niger Delta alone. And we wouldn't want any crisis in River State.
The over 12 kilometers road project with bridges, when completed, will enhance security. From Rumolumini in Obiakpo, Osinachi Samuel, NTA News.
To assess the implementation of rural road projects to boost agro-logistics and enhance farmers' connectivity for sustainable development is part of discourse at the 7th Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project Implementation Support Project held in Uyo. Evelyn Bado Ekpo has details.
The Rural Access and Agricultural and Marketing Project, a World Bank-assisted project and French Development Agency, targets rehabilitation and construction of feeder roads for easy transportation of products from the rural areas. About 4 states of Kogi, Akwa Ibom, Abia and Ebonyi states in the South-South are among beneficiaries of these projects. The assessment is to also look into grey areas and proffer solutions to ongoing projects in these rural communities.
We also use this medium to interact with the state officials to understand their concern as regards the project and equally put minds together to see how we resolve.
Benefits are enormous. It has a lot of ripple effects. If you have a bad farm road, the cost of transporting what you are planting to the markets will be higher, and then you will likely factor that into the cost of what you're selling.
Agricultural zones, improving access to markets in the states.
Our own objective of the project is to provide access routes to rural communities and see how we can link them to available market potentials in the state, thereby improving overall livelihood of the rural community. We have achieved, as recorded there, 65.86% of civil works completion. Our hope is that by September we should be able to deliver that project.
The Rural Road Project is expected to transform agro-logistics in rural communities. In Uyo, Evelyn Badu Ekpo, NTA News.
Now, as the world comes together to celebrate the vibrant tapestry of cultures on International World Culture Day, we are reminded that our diversity is our greatest strength. From the vibrant attire of the Yoruba people to the rich musical heritage of the Igbo and the rich cuisines of the North, Nigeria is a melting pot of diverse cultures. In this report, Gufan Shaji Wanyi takes us on a journey to explore the beauty of Nigerian culture and the significance of the day.
Nigeria is a country with over 250 ethnic groups. Each
the people is to reorientate them appropriately in their cultural understanding and appreciation. To kill a people is to take their culture away from them, and they will need to revisit how to
strength of Nigeria. And it's also a day we're also creating awareness on the need for cultural dialogue, and as well to create awareness on the potentials of the Nigerian culture and the creative economy.
As we celebrate International World Cultural Day, we remember that culture is not just about tradition, it's about the future. It's about the next generation of Nigerians who will carry on our legacy.
Out there, they love our culture so much. So it is time for our parents.
Anyone who was not involved in a case of terrorism is accused of it and found guilty because their biometric information and some of the trail of their data can be connected to the crime.
My data is with almost all the agencies. I don't know who's getting access to my data.
I'm beckoning on the Office of the National Security Advisor, who will do a forensic investigation and come up with a solution to these cracks.
Section 14 of the NIMSI Act 2007 mandates NIMSI to be the body that creates, manages, maintains and operates the National Identity Database. So, we approached NIMSI for explanation. Head of Corporate Communications, Kayode Adegoke, simply told us that there has been...
We have never had any data breach, and we don't have data breach. That I can assure Nigerians. And recently, NIMSI was awarded the highest certification by ISO, and no other agency has that.
The question experts are asking is, if Mr. Adegoke is to be believed and the National Identity Database is indeed safe, how did ExpressVerify.com gain access to such personal information of Nigerians?
If everything was safe, there will be no leak that leads to a scenario where the data of all Nigerians is susceptible to anyone who can pay for it on expressverify.com.
A check on expressverify.com shows that the site has now been pulled down, but questions remain. If NIMSI insists that there has been no breach of the National Identity Database, was the now defunct expressverify.com granted access for a fee who are enrolled? Questions that only the National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI, can answer. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA News24, and here's a look at our major stories. Senate engages stakeholders on 300% salary increase for judicial officers. Federal High Court Abuja refuses request of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu for restoration of revoked bail conditions. Minister of Interior promises readiness of Nigeria's passport data center before May 29th. Intra-city rail service. Abuja Metro Line commences operations this month.
This is NTA News24.
On the foreign scene, war crimes prosecutor seeks arrest of Israeli and Hamas leaders, including Prime Minister Netanyahu. Details of this and more with Garba Natala.
Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, ICC, sought arrest warrants for leaders of Israel and Hamas, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, over actions taken during the 7th-month war. Court prosecutor Karim Khan accused Netanyahu, Galat, and 3 Hamas leaders, Yahya Sinwar, Mohammad Daif, and Ismail Haniyeh, of war crimes and crimes against humanity in the Gaza Strip and Israel. Netanyahu and other Israeli leaders condemned the move. South Africa, however, welcomed the move in an effort to arrest the leaders on both sides. U.S. President Joe Biden also criticized the prosecutor and supported Israel's right to defend itself against Hamas. A panel of 3 judges will decide whether to issue the arrest warrants and allow a case to proceed. The judges typically take 2 months to make such decision. According to media sources,